Jay-Z and K-pop? Did you see this coming? Well, Jay-Z did say almost a decade ago. He is a businessman, so let him handle his business. But no one expected these two worlds to collide. Yet this collision course was bound to happen. Do you know why? The reason why is because Jay-Z is known from being part of hip-hop culture. And K-pop, or should we say K-culture, which K-culture, especially K-pop, is influenced by hip-hop. So when you see Hanwha team up with Hov, do you think it's random? The rise. By now, you are already aware that Jay-Z is a businessman, from Rockefeller Records to Rock-Aware to Rock Nation. But he also has his own venture capital business, Marcy Venture Partners. I know you want to know more about Jay-Z's Marcy Venture Partners, but let's talk about Hanwha. Long before Jay-Z was born and before the birth of hip-hop culture, in the 1950s, in South Korea, Kim Jong-hee launched Hanwha. Now, the evolution of this company. It is just as impressive as Jay-Z's rise, as it is not what you know it as today. Speaking of Jay-Z, did you know, before Jay-Z became a global business force, he was born Shawn Carter from Marcy Projects, Brooklyn, New York. You already know, he's from Marcy's son. So, it was inevitable that he would name a business from where he is from. Now you know where the name Marcy Venture Partners and later MarcyPen Capital Partners, as well as MarcyPen Asia, come from. However, his rise to fame and global business success is largely thanks to his street hustling skills. Despite this, we do not recommend being a street hustler because even Jay-Z has said, well, we don't have to repeat it because he already said it in his classic Jaz-O, Hova. Ironically, this from the album, The Blueprint. He became the real blueprint for how to be raised from a low-income household to building and maintaining sustainable wealth. So, you see, his come-up was largely thanks to hip-hop culture. He debuted in 1996 with the album Reasonable Doubt. But before then, he had a mentor. In fact, he had two, Jaz-O and Big Daddy Kane. He was soaking in the game, something that you can do yourself as well. No wonder he moves with such aura, making moves that, in hindsight, was a great idea even if you and many others are confused. It always brings the culture forward. You're probably wondering, so where does Hanwha fit into all of this? Well, let's explain. As much as the company started, in a completely different direction to what you know of today. You would never guess how they started. It started by servicing Korea by providing industrial materials in the 1950s during historical time when needed. So, would you agree that Kim Jong-hee is a national hero for South Korea? Here is another interesting fact. Did you know it was originally a different name? The shift was driven by the second chairman, Kim Sung-yeon, who took over in 1981 and wanted to transform the company's image from a niche munitions manufacturer into a modern, global conglomerate. By the early 90s, the company had already expanded into petrochemicals, retail, galleria, and leisure, making the original name too narrow for their global ambitions. Today, this rebranding has allowed them to dominate international markets in green energy and aerospace under a unified, non-combustible brand identity. So where does the Hanwha and the K-pop connection begin? Before we get into that, for it to make sense, I am sure you would like to know the rise of K-pop. Did you know that K-pop's rise mirrored hip-hop's? It is important to note that both were born from communities that turned struggle into style, identity into industry, and local expression into global currency. And while the aesthetics differed, the underlying psychology was the same. Rhythm, rebellion, reinvention, a sense of belonging that crossed borders. So, the K-pop and Hanwha connection begins in the mid-1990s to early 2000s when Hanwha, under Chairman Kim Sung-yeon, began diversifying into lifestyle, retail, and hospitality. While Hanwha didn't start as a music label like YG Entertainment or SM or JYP, they built the infrastructure that K-pop needed to become a global elite brand. Through Hanwha Galleria, luxury retail, and Hanwha Hotels and Resorts, they created high-end venues, luxury showcases, and financial backing that transformed K-pop idols from local singers into international luxury icons. So, now do you see why it seems natural for Jay-Z to do business with Hanwha via MarcyPen Asia? So, when Jay-Z expanded Marcy Venture Partners into Asia, merging it into MarcyPen Capital Partners, And with MarcyPen Asia partnership with Hanwha, it wasn't a random business move. It was a recognition of where the culture is heading. He saw K-pop not as competition, but as a parallel universe built on the same principles that shaped his own rise. And so, Hanwha, with its deep pockets and deeper ambition, see MarcyPen Asia as a bridge, an entry point into a world where K-culture isn't just entertainment but influence that can reach far beyond the globe, the way hip-hop culture has done for a number of decades. This partnership didn't begin with just a contract. It began with alignment. Two power structures, one born from the streets of Brooklyn, the other from Seoul, realizing they were chasing the same thing, global cultural dominance. Not through force, but through rhythm. Not through politics, but through people. Not through control, but through connection. So do you feel this partnership is unlikely? Or do you feel it's inevitable now that you know the world they both came from? Jay-Z mastered hip-hop culture and business. Hanwha mastered scale. Together, they're building something bigger than music, bigger than business, something that could redefine how global culture is created, distributed, and monetized. But with such massive visions, there are challenges. What challenges do you think they have had or will go through? The challenges they will face are the types that both Jay-Z and Hanwha have been fully prepared for. As you know, in life, your greatest challenges often come when you are actually prepared. More prepared than you realize. You are well trained, mentally, spiritually, financially, physically, and emotionally. So, for everything that makes this partnership feel inevitable, the truth is nothing about it is easy. Jay-Z and Hanwha may be aligned in vision, but the worlds they come from couldn't be more different. And when two giants move toward each other, the collision isn't always smooth. They could be clashes with one another. And Jay-Z himself is fully aware of working with other business partners in many of his various business dealings. Likewise with Hanwha, as you are aware of how they started and how they got to where they are now. It sure takes discipline and mental fortitude to be able to ensure everyone is on the same page, at the same pace, to be able to deliver the massive vision. For example, let's start with culture. Hip-hop and K-pop may share influence, but they don't share the same environments. Hip-hop was born from raw expression, survival, rebellion, resistance, and standing up against oppression, as well as being the voice of the youth and the voice of the voiceless. K-pop, on the other hand, was engineered through discipline, structure, and by national strategy. One celebrates individuality, the other perfects collectivity. Although it is debatable, as in the early days of hip-hop, there were many crews/groups. So when Jay-Z steps into the K-pop or K-culture universe, he isn't just entering a new market, he's entering a system with rules, expectations, and traditions that don't bend easily. Also, if you are from hip-hop culture, you already know whenever Jay-Z announces any business deal, out comes the critics. Then there's also the business challenges. Jay-Z built his empire on independence, ownership, and the freedom to pivot fast. Even though, yes, he works in partnership with other brands and owners, you can evidently see whatever strategy he is doing, it is working. As for Hanwha, they built theirs on hierarchy, long-term planning, and institutional stability. Back to Jay-Z. Do you think he operates Roc Nation and his other organizations on a small scale or bigger scale? Think about it. Roc Nation, there are other subsidiaries. So they move on a global scale, so they have their challenges. Just like Hanwha moves like a global state-level entity, but their timelines don't match due to how many years of business operations. So do their decision-making styles. Do you think they match? That's another challenge within itself. What about their risk tolerance? Do you think they match? When billions are involved, mismatched expectations can make or break partnerships before they even begin, even when $500 million is invested. The same applies. Another thing you should take into consideration when it comes to the challenges is this isn't necessarily a Jay-Z and Hanwha partnership. This is a Marcy Venture Partners and Hanwha partnership. And what do you think that means? It means that Jay-Z isn't the only one involved. You know Jay-Z's name, so individual challenges can seem visible. But Marcy Venture Partners isn't just solely run by Jay-Z. Think about it this way. You now know the names behind Hanwha, but with organizations like this, the challenges don't often seem visible to those on the outside looking in. So that means there's also the perception challenge. Fans are protective. Hip-hop fans guard authenticity. K-pop fans guard purity. Investors guard stability. Governments guard national image. One wrong headline, one misunderstood collaboration, one cultural misstep, and suddenly, the partnership becomes a target instead of a triumph. And I am sure you have already heard the headlines regarding Jay-Z, even if they are false. Some partnerships can falter, even if it proves they are completely innocent. But that's not all. The backlash of the news of this partnership is because some hip-hop fans have seen some cultural appropriation and racism from K-pop. So, you can understand why some will question this move. But you should be aware that when Jay-Z, with Roc Nation, partnered with the NFL, it was when the NFL was under pressure due to the racism storm. Like we said before, Jay-Z is prepared. He has been here before, although there will be different challenges. But how he has used Roc Nation to bring different cultures together with the Super Bowl halftime show is amazing. But this is surface-level type of evidence. The real goodwill is behind the scenes. If you want, we can discuss this in a completely different video. But let's get back to this Marcy Venture Partners and Hanwha partnership. So, it's impossible to ignore the geopolitical layer. South Korea's entertainment industry is tied to national branding and diplomacy. And Jay-Z is tied to private capital, activism, and cultural influence. When a South Korean conglomerate with national interest partners with an American mogul who built his legacy challenging systems, the stakes rise far beyond music. It changes the status quo. It changes the blueprint. Then, there's the financial challenge. K-pop is expensive. Idol training, global marketing, touring, and production. It's a machine that burns money before it makes money. Hanwha can fund it. But what do you think this means for MarcyPen Capital Partners? And when two different investment philosophies collide, do you believe tension are inevitable? Or do you believe this is the beauty of partnerships? Because you already know that their rise is impressive, but the challenges? They're real, they're structural, they're cultural, they're financial, they're political, and they force one question. How do you think Jay-Z and Hanwha turn alignment into action when the obstacles between them could break lesser empires? And what does this mean for you? The turning point. What it means for you is every great story reaches a moment where everything changes for the better, not gradually, not quietly, but decisively. And for this narrative, that moment didn't happen on a stage, in a boardroom, or in a music video. It happened in December 2025, when two worlds that were never supposed to meet finally merged. But let's talk about you for a moment. Have you ever thought about your life and seen true turning points? Think about the challenges you have faced. They are trials you have been confronted with. And the greatest measure of yourself is how you choose to react in the face of those trials. And that is where the true power of the turning points in your life happens. So, when it comes to Jay-Z and Hanwha partnership, let's be clear. They have faced many challenges and trials along their journey to reach this point of partnership where it's not Roc Nation and Hanwha, not hip-hop and K-pop, but MarcyPen Capital Partners and Hanwha Asset Management. This is the moment K-culture stops being just entertainment and officially becomes a global financial asset class. Have you ever wondered how and why hip-hop culture became a multi-billion-dollar industry? If you trace the timeline, Jay-Z's influence is there. Have you noticed how hip-hop was in the 80s versus now? It is an incredible difference. And as much as Jay-Z's debut album was in 1996, his real debut was on a song with his mentor Jaz-O in the 1980s. So with all that experience, this is the moment when one of the world's most influential Western cultural investor, Jay-Z, and one of Asia's most powerful industrial giants, Hanwha, decided to build something together not symbolic, not experimental, but structural. Or what do you think? Who do you think benefits from all of this? So with that said, do you think this deal looks simple on paper? Or is it more complex than it looks? Well, let's take a deeper look. MarcyPen Capital Partners is the newly merged force of Marcy Venture Partners and Pendulum Holdings. They signed a landmark agreement with Hanwha Asset Management to launch MarcyPen Asia, headquartered in Seoul. So what's the real mission? To deploy a $500 million fund dedicated to identifying and scaling high-growth Korean consumers and lifestyle companies. Not just K-pop, not just idols, but the entire K-culture ecosystem. K-beauty, K-food, K-fashion, K-lifestyle. Doesn't this remind you of the hip-hop culture ecosystem that Jay-Z helped build and sustain? Starting with Rockefeller Records to Rockaware to S. Carter's to Roc Nation to Roc Nation Sports, etc., there are endless deals that fit in the lifestyle of hip-hop and Jay-Z. So, clearly he is the right man for the job. This isn't East copying West. This isn't West exploiting East. And this isn't Jay-Z being selfish as you may think. This is a bridge, a deliberate, strategic bridge built to move Korean brands into Western markets with the same force that hip-hop once moved from the Bronx to the world. And so, for the first time, K-culture isn't being exported, it is being scaled. Not by entertainment companies, not by fandom alone, but by institutional capital, especially with their combined experience. This is where the story shifts from cultural rise to global dominance. This is where K-culture becomes a financial engine. This is where Jay-Z blueprint meets Hanwha's infrastructure. This is where the future stops being predicted and starts being built, with a real rock-solid foundation. Because when MarcyPen and Hanwha shook hands, the message was clear. K-culture isn't a trend, but it's an industry. And now, it has the capital to take over the world. And you benefit greatly from this. The strategy. How you will benefit from this partnership will be due to the strategies they could potentially be put in place. So, how do MarcyPen and Hanwha actually plan to pull this off? Because a $500 million fund isn't a headline, it's a strategy, a blueprint, a system. It's a lot of financial investment. And this is where the story gets even more interesting. How do you think global cultural dominance happens? Put it this way, it's not through viral moments, it's not through hit songs, or through celebrity endorsements. The real power and the real influence comes from infrastructure, capital, and distribution. And that's exactly what MarcyPen and Hanwha are building. So, there are more ways you will be benefiting. Are you ready for this breakdown on more ways you will benefit from this partnership? Let's break it down. 1. Hanwha identifies these small but mighty South Korean brands. Hanwha Asset Management has something no Western investor can replicate, and that is deep, generational access to South Korea's most promising companies. They know which K-beauty brands are quietly outperforming, which K-food companies have global potential, which K-fashion labels have cult followings, which lifestyle brands can scale beyond Asia. Hanwha's job is simple but powerful, and they source the winners before the world sees them. 2. MarcyPen becomes the global scaling engine. This is where Jay-Z influence becomes a strategy, not a story. MarcyPen brings brand building, cultural intelligence, Western distribution, celebrity networks, marketing architecture, global retail access, Silicon Valley investment discipline. In other words, Hanwha finds the spark. MarcyPen turns it into a wildfire that has potential to spread at a rate that is unimaginable. 3. The $500 million fund acts as the launchpad. This isn't charity. This isn't hype. This is institutional capital being deployed with precision. The fund is designed to acquire equity in high-growth Korean brands, scale them into Western markets, build cross-border distribution channels, create global lifestyle ecosystems, turn K-culture into a multi-sector economic engine. This is the same playbook Jay-Z used in hip-hop, but now applied to an entire nation's cultural output. 4. The East and West Bridge becomes a repeatable model. This partnership isn't a one-off. It's a template. A system where South Korea provides innovation, America provides amplification, Hanwha provides infrastructure, and MarcyPen provides cultural strategy. This is how you turn culture into capital. This is how you turn fandom into economics. This is how you turn a trend into an industry. A system where South Korea provides innovation, America provides amplification, Hanwha provides infrastructure, MarcyPen provides cultural strategy. This is how you turn culture into capital. This is how you turn fandom into economics. This is how you turn a trend into an industry. And here's what it means for you. The strategy isn't just about Jay-Z and Hanwha. It's about understanding the new rules of global influence. Culture is capital, attention is infrastructure, distribution is power. Partnerships beat competition. The East and the West are no longer separate markets, they're one ecosystem. If you understand this, you're already ahead of 99% of people. Because the future won't belong to the biggest companies. It will belong to the companies and individuals who understand how to bridge worlds. And that's exactly what MarcyPen and Hanwha are doing. With that said, do you see how you benefit? And just so we are clear, you benefit because when you look beneath the surface of this partnership, you start to realize something deeper. And this is every major cultural shift is really a shift in human behavior, power, and identity. Think about it. You don't follow brands. Deep down you follow the meaning. You follow movements. You follow the individuals and organizations who understand how to turn ambition into more than just something magical. Something so iconic that you feel it. That you see something in them that you either wish you had or inspire to be like. When you continue to deep it, Jaz-O and Hanwha didn't reach to this point by accident. They reached it through decision-making, discipline, and the ability to see value before the world recognizes it. That's a massive skill set to have, not just for financial reasons only. It's the mindset of people who understand that power isn't loud, it's strategic. It's built quietly, consistently, and intentionally. Do you remember when Jay-Z turned Colin Kaepernick's protest moment into a partnership with the NFL via Roc Nation? Well, he has helped shift culture with Kendrick Lamar, being unapologetically hip-hop, visually and sonically, and Bad Bunny leveraged what Shakira and J-Lo did when he was a guest. Which guess who was in charge of putting on the Shakira and J-Lo Super Bowl halftime show? Yep, that's right. It was Jay-Z with Roc Nation. You see, if you were part of any of these cultures, you would know it's not just about the music. There are a lot of things intertwined that generates more inspiration for many people of all walks of life from those cultures. There's also a lesson about money principles. Wealth doesn't grow through consumption. It grows through ownership, equity, and positioning yourself where the world is moving, not where it has already been. That's what MarcyPen and Hanwha are doing, placing themselves at the center of a cultural wave before it peaks. And then there's identity. Jay-Z didn't become a global mogul by staying who he was in 1996, and Hanwha didn't become a giant in South Korea by staying who they were in the 1950s. Do you know what that means? It means growth, and growth requires reinvention. And courage requires the willingness to step into rooms where you don't yet feel qualified. Even if you are qualified and some don't think you are, you still have to be courageous enough to do what you feel is right. And that leads to ambition. Not the loud kind, but the strategic kind. The kind that builds bridges instead of walls. The kind that sees opportunity where others see risk. If you understand these insights, you're not just watching the story. You're learning how to build your own. You are learning how to be involved one way or the other. And how do you build your own? You build your own by understanding that this entire journey, there's something almost poetic about it. Two forces that were never meant to cross paths: a hustler from Marcy Projects, Brooklyn, New York, and a South Korean conglomerate organization born from post-war reconstruction. Now, they are standing side by side, shaping the future of global culture. There's irony in that. There's beauty in that. And there's a quiet triumph in knowing that the world doesn't always reward the loudest, but the most intentional. It feels like there is something magical and iconic happening, and you are witnessing it in real time. You have a chance to be part of something historic. Because beneath the headlines and the $500 million investment, this partnership is really about evolution. It's about refusing to stay who you were yesterday. And it's about daring to imagine a world bigger than the one you inherited. Jay-Z did it. Hanwha did it. And now, together, they're building something that outlives both of them. And the truth is, if you're paying attention, you can feel it. You can feel the shift. You can feel the spark. This is a reminder that your story isn't finished either. It's just beginning, no matter what you have accomplished so far. The principle. If there's one principle you should take from this, it's this. Your future is shaped by the partnerships you choose and the courage you bring to them. Power isn't built through noise. It's built through alignment, intention, and the willingness to step into opportunities before they're fully formed. Jay-Z and Hanwha are not focusing on themselves. They are creating the conditions for their next chapter. And so can you. Because the people who reshape culture aren't the ones who follow trends. They're the ones who recognize the moment, commit to the vision, and move with purpose long before the world understands. They create the trends others follow. And that's why Jaz-O, through MarcyPen Capital Partners and Hanwha Asset Management, have teamed up under MarcyPen Asia to build a rock-solid foundation not just for hip-hop culture, not just for K-pop, but for the entire K-culture ecosystem. The real question now is simple. Are you ready to be part of the foundation being built?